All right, welcome everyone to day 2 of our workshop. We're kicking things off with a really cool lab using AI to generate integration tests. Now, I know integration tests might sound a bit technical, but trust me, the core idea is super important and it's a real game changer for how we build software that actually, works.
So let's start with a number, a big one, 30 to 40%. What's that, you ask? Well, that's roughly how many bugs you see out in the real world, and they're not hiding inside a single component. Nope. They're lurking in the cracks, in those gaps between the different pieces of software.
And that, my friends, is exactly where integration testing comes in. It's not about checking if one piece of software works all by itself. It's all about testing that handshake between different parts to make sure they're actually talking to each other correctly and playing nice. Okay, so why is this handshake such a big deal? Why do so many nasty bugs just love to hide out in these gaps? Let's dive in and take a closer look. Here's a fantastic way to think about it. Imagine you have a user service. It's basically the DMV. It issues the driver's licenses, right? It creates and manages user accounts. Then you've got an authentication service. This is your police officer. Their job is to check your license. The big question for our integration test is, does the officer actually know how to read the license that the DMV printed? That's the test. Now, here's where it gets really cool, especially for us QA folks. You don't actually need to be a developer to do this. You don't need to see a single line of code inside these services. All you need to care about is the contract, what each one promises to do on the outside. In our little story, it's pretty simple. The user service, our DMV, is the provider. It's handing out the data. And the off service, our police officer, is the consumer. It needs that data to do its job. It's a one-way street. The dependency just flows from the provider to the consumer. So the trick is to treat each service like a black box. We don't care how the DMV prints the license. We just care about its public-facing promises. And that's what the specification is. It's the contract. It says, if you give me this input, I promise to give you that output. We don't need to know about all the gears turning on the inside. Okay, so this is where we bring in our secret weapon, AI. And I want to be really clear about this. We're not just asking the AI to spit out some code for us. The real power move is to use AI as a strategic partner, like a brainstorming buddy, to help us think of all the ways this handshake could go wrong. So instead of just saying, hey AI, write a test, we ask a much better, much smarter question, something like this. What could possibly go wrong when the off service tries to check credentials for a user that, oops, doesn't even exist in the user service? See? That question gets right to the heart of a potential integration failure. And you'll find that the best prompts, the ones that get you amazing results, follow a simple 3-step recipe. 1, give it the context. You hand it those contracts, the specifications. 2, ask that sharp, specific question about what could go wrong. And 3, tell it what you want. Ask for an actionable output, like the actual test logic for that exact problem. And this gets us to the absolute core of great integration testing. Honestly, anyone can test the happy path, the scenario where everything goes perfectly. But that's not where the really nasty bugs live. The real gold is in the failure scenarios. You have to actively go looking for trouble because that's what's going to happen in the real world. And this is one of the things AI is just fantastic at. It's like having a super creative partner who is great at asking, what if? What if the user just straight up doesn't exist? What if the data comes back, but a key piece is missing? Or my personal favorite, what if the user service just shrugs and returns null or none? So many systems just fall over when that happens. What's great is that this whole process automatically helps you prioritize what to test. You immediately know what's important. Testing what happens when a user doesn't exist? High priority, for sure. That's a failure right at the boundary. But testing the internal database logic of the user service? Nope. That's not an integration test. It's important, but it's a job for a different kind of test. So, what does this all mean? Well, it's a huge mindset shift. When you start using AI this way, you're not just a bug finder anymore, cleaning up messes after the fact. You become a system thinker, a strategist. You're actually preventing bugs from ever happening in the first place. So remember, your goal, your laser focus has to be on the contract, the handshake. A good integration test asks, how does the system handle a none return? A bad one gets distracted and starts asking about the internal algorithms inside one of the black boxes. Who cares? Test the handshake.
not what's happening deep inside the boxes.
All right, let's nail this down. 4 things to remember. 1. You test the contract, not the code. 2. Failure scenarios are way, way more important than the happy path. 3. AI is your brainstorming partner for figuring out what could go wrong. And 4. Always, always focus on the interface, the outside, not the messy stuff on the inside.
And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. If AI gets really, really good at brainstorming all these potential failures, what's left for us? What's the new job of a human tester? What's the thing that only we can bring to the table? Something to think about.